Hello and welcome to a new episode or update video on the next session I've done. So last time we did 6th of April, which was a few days ago for me, and now 7th of April, we're on that day. So this was an overview on the brushes. So it was all about the first brushes panel. These are the different I guess panels. So the first one, all these ones, and that's what I'm gonna go over today. But a quick explanation is that first of all, the world looks different because I've changed the lighting, the way the lighting works. I'm not sure exactly what I did, but now it looks a bit different. But the positive thing is that now, as you can see here, there are shadows, which I'll explain later, but before there weren't no shadows. So it's much better. And I created an underworld to more easily explain what I've, like each brush. So specifically for the brushes, I'm gonna go on the underworld. And basically this is a little world here under, where I made a little border, and I basically painted the walls black in a monotone black. So it looks like a little underworld. And I copied the text here, and this is the title, Brushes Panel 1. So let's get started. On Brushes Panel, this is the Brushes Panel, there's an arrow to flip through different sets or grids. So these are the sets or grids. So there's 4 grids, and today we're focusing on the first panel or grid. And this is technically called the brush palette. If you point at a brush, the name pops up, which is very obviously a normal useful feature. All markers can change into any color. So or not necessarily all. Oh yeah, okay. For all of these 3 markers, so these are called markers, you can see. The other ones aren't. So these 3 can all change in any color, and most of these actually can, but there's a few which we'll talk about later which actually can't, and so that's gonna be interesting. Tapered. So the way it's sort of organized in a way that there's the markers here, then there's the flats here, and there's others here. So basically these 3 are in a set. So there's first a marker. Wait, let me make it a bit thicker, which looks like this. So quite square, or technically here square end of marker is called a blunt end. So these are blunt edges. And then the tapered marker has tapered or pointy ends. Only on one side though, only on the end. Not in the beginning. The beginning is slightly more curved than the marker, but still not pointy. And then the third one is the pinched one, which is basically tapered on both sides. So you can see it's pointy on both sides. Then the flat marker has the flat paintbrush has shadows and lighting. That's a big difference between the 2. They're very similar if you look at them side by side. Okay, this one actually looks much darker as well. This is due to the shadows of the darkness here. But basically, usually it would look roughly the same in a bright setting. However, this one, if you turn it around, it contains shadows. And you can slightly see that. It's hard to see because it's so dark in here. But that's the difference. And whereas the marker, if you look at it straight, here you notice the difference in edges. Here, it's just monotone. It's just one color. So that's the big difference between the marker and the flat. Also, a flat has pointy ends, much more pointy than marker, in case that's any use in the future. Then a tapered flat, just like the other tapered one, is a pointy end, and same with the pinched flat, pointy on both ends, but it's a flat paintbrush. With oil paint, so now we're going to oil paint, which is the next one. So this oil paint one has a texture. It's the first one which has a proper texture, as I said here, and brush strokes. So what it means by that, if you look at the marker, it just does exactly what I do. But when I use the oil paint, it sort of stretches. It's like a stroke. It sort of stretches as you use it, and it follows behind a bit, not directly where you are. So that's one of its properties. Then also, so here's an example I put. But anyway, then the next one's the ink. So the ink has a more softer texture. Let's compare the 2. So if you get up close, you can see the ripples, like the line of ripples here. on the, what was it called, the oil paint. But on the ink one, it's very smooth. It almost looks like soft wood. And its difference is also that it's a bit thicker, so it looks more filled in, and it's reflective. So it has a more soft 3D look, and that's what I meant by the reflection. Because if you would use this reflective material, it looks really 3D, especially with that lighting here. Thick paint has a lot of visual texture. So let's go to thick paint. So as you can see, it's very, very textured and much less solid or filled in even than the oil paint, which isn't very solid. So there's a lot of gaps in between, and the texture is very rough. So that's its properties. Then the soft highlighter, which is these two. Wet paint. Oh, okay. So I think I haven't. Oh, later. Okay, never mind. So the soft highlighter, which is this one, is basically a translucent. You can see it's see-through. You can sort of see you can read the text behind it, even if I put a lot of it. But then and it acts like a cloud, sort of, you could say, as you can see over there. I compared them. However, the highlighter, which is this one, but I showed it here, has much more of or it's less faded, so the edges are much less faded and like clouded out. So it's much brighter or stronger. And it highlights or it covers, how do you say, layers more. That's what I want to say. So if you look at this, if I do it once and then here twice, that one's much brighter, and like multiple times, there's a literal part where you can hardly see through. So that's a big difference. Although the soft highlighter also does that, it's much more not as strong. And then and then the wet paint is the last one from this group, which is more reflective and thick than some of the other ones. So here you can see, especially when you look from the bottom, you can see all the reflections. So it's very reflective and it's very thick. It's actually very similar, I would say, to the ink. If you look at them side by side, I would say it's a bit more solid and less textured, maybe. So yeah, so those are all the different brushes on the first grid, and next time we'll go to the next one, which is panel 2. Thank you for listening.